Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Game in Your Pocket. This time, I'm going to take a look at the last Lighthouse. And again, it's a game that is fast to set up and play, pocket sized, and affordable. This time, it's also a new game. It was released last week as print and play. So let's take a look at the game. First, we have the instructions here. Very short, easy to understand, and it will give you an overview of the game, the turns, and the win conditions. The game itself has 18 cards, so let's take a closer look. First, we have the lighthouse, and the game is all about keeping the lighthouse lit. If the light goes out, you will lose the game. The lighthouse has 6 health and will lose health if it is attacked by the nightmares. And if it loses health, you will move the darkness card to count the amount of remaining health. The 16 remaining cards are all nightmare and trap cards. If you rotate them, you will have traps and nightmares, like so. And basically they work the same way. Every nightmare has an amount of health, 3 in this case and 1 with this nightmare. Then they have a range to the left and to the right, how many cards they can attack. And finally, they have a special ability that will trigger typically when they are placed, like this one. But it can also trigger when the card is defeated, for example. And if you rotate the nightmares, you will get the traps. And as mentioned, they work the same way with an amount of health, 1 in this case, attack range, and also a special ability that will trigger when placed or defeated. The nightmares will attack and try to shroud the lighthouse in darkness, and the traps will be used to prevent it. So, to set up the game, give the 16 cards a good shuffle and then put 4 cards to the right of the lighthouse. And those 4 cards will be your C. Then deal 4 cards. That will be your hand. Those cards will be your weapons. And finally, the remaining cards will be our deck, and we will put that one over here. The 4 cards in the C can be used to adjust the game difficulty. I will choose to have 3 nightmares to begin with in my C, and then I will have 1 trap. But you can have different combinations of nightmares and traps. If you take a look at the instructions here, 3 nightmares and 1 trap will be hard difficulty, and, well, that's the difficulty I find. Gives me the best challenge. With that done, let's get a quick overview of the nightmares in the C. We have nightmares with different health, and we have this one and actually also this one that can already attack our lighthouse. If I don't do something, my lighthouse will lose 2 health. But luckily I have my hand with 4 traps. And again, I have to check what they can do. Something that will be useful here in the first round. I know I will lose health if I don't do anything. The first step in one round is to play the traps, and I can do 2 different actions. I can put a trap into the sea anywhere I want to, squeeze it in where I think it will be most useful, and I can also attack. I can do both, and I can do 1 of each action. I already have a card here, a trap card that can attack a nightmare. If I attack a nightmare, I must be able to defeat it all at once. So if a nightmare has 3 health, I will have to deal 3 damage. 1 trap and 1 nightmare will deal 1 damage each. So it will be a good idea to attack that card, but I will also need to place 1 card to prevent the attacks on my lighthouse. So I'll begin with this trap card. I will put it right next to the lighthouse, and by doing so, the nightmares can no longer attack. They can still attack, but not the lighthouse. I'll get back to this in a while. So, for now, I will do my second action, and that will be an attack on this nightmare. It only has 1 health, so I will defeat it. And when a nightmare is defeated, it will rotate and become a new trap, a new weapon. And then I will close the gap. That was my 2 actions. Now the nightmares will attack, and they will do so by first placing a new nightmare card, and that card is always placed in the rightmost position. This nightmare card has 2 health. Next, the nightmares will attack, and none of the nightmare cards can reach the lighthouse, luckily for me, but this one can attack my trap, and they will attack everything they can. Again, they have to defeat my trap, and this one only has 1 health, so with 1 nightmare attack, my card will be defeated. But the special ability will also trigger, so I will draw a new trap into my hand, and then I will just remove the old trap. Again, the gap will be closed, and the cards in the sea will move to the left. They will always close the gaps. After the nightmare attacks, the next thing that will happen is the tide will shift, and the card next to the lighthouse, if it is a nightmare, will be moved back into the sea, and if it's a trap, it will just be removed. Final thing to keep your eye on here at the end of the round is that if there are 4 nightmares next to each other, the lighthouse will lose 1 health. But that's not the case here. So my lighthouse survived the first round, didn't lose any health. But again, I'll have to start considering the next round, how the nightmares are positioned, and what my traps will be able to do. And I can already see that the nightmare next to the lighthouse with a range of 1 in attack will take 1 health if I don't do something. So let's check out the traps. And I think I will begin with this one. I'll put it here. It has an attack range of 3, so it will be able to reach the 2 nightmares to the left of it. And then for my second action, I will place another trap. And I will use this one, because when I place it, I can immediately discard a nightmare. And I would really like to get rid of this one here. Because if I defeat it, I will draw a new nightmare. I have no interest in that. And here is a difference, because you can defeat cards and you can discard them. And when the card is discarded, I will no longer get it as a trap, but I will not trigger the defeated ability. So the nightmares will react, and they will begin with a new nightmare. This one has a when defeated ability, so nothing will happen when it's placed, and again, it will be placed to the far right. But I know that this nightmare card will have 1 range, and it will attack the lighthouse. I will lose 1 health. And then the tides will shift, and the nightmare will be moved to the far right. And I still do not have 4 nightmares next to each other, so I'm safe for now. I will begin my next round by getting rid of a nightmare. I already have 2 traps in a good position. I can defeat this one. It will take 2 hits, and I can attack it with both my cards. And when it is defeated, it will become a trap. So that's the first action. And I can see that there are no nightmares able to reach the lighthouse with their attacks, but they can reach my trap cards. So if I think I could place this trap card, because when it's defeated, I will regain 1 health. So if I put it here, I will know that this nightmare card with a range of 3 will attack it, and then it will be defeated. But let's see first, a new nightmare will be placed again to the far right, and then my plan will be executed. The nightmare will attack this trap card, and with 1 health, it will be defeated. The ability is that the lighthouse will gain 1 health, and it's back to full strength, and the gap will close. Now the tide will shift again, and this time it's a trap in the first position, and that will sadly be discarded, so I will just lose that trap. So now the sea has 3 nightmare cards next to each other, not 4, but it's becoming a bit more dangerous. I can see that one of the nightmares can reach the lighthouse and do 1 damage. That's not a catastrophe, but I could try to prevent it. Another thing I have to consider is that there are 3 nightmares, and I will try to split them to prevent 4 nightmares in a row. So I'll put 1 trap card in between here, and that's the first action. So next I will do an attack. I will attack this card because it annoys me, but sadly it has a very bad ability when it's defeated. I will get the card, but I also have to rotate one of my trap cards in the sea to a nightmare, and that's really bad. I think I'm forced. No, if I do this, I will risk 4 nightmares in a row, so I'm forced to flip or rotate one of the other traps. Let's see, I think I'll take this one. And it has an attack range of 2, so my lighthouse will be hit, but I'm forced to do it. So the nightmares will activate again. They will bring a new nightmare to the sea. It has a very long attack range to the left, and I will again have 3 in a row, and then this nightmare will attack my lighthouse and remove 1 health. The tide will shift, and I will lose the trap card to the right of the lighthouse. Now I have 4 nightmares and only 1 trap. It's not good. The challenge of this game is to be able to see more than 1 round into the future and at the same time try to prevent what's happening right now. And that's what makes it exciting, I think. I have a trap card here, and if I place that card, I will be able to move another trap to anywhere in the sea. And I think that's what I'm going to do. This one has an attack range of 2 to the left, and when I place it, I can take my other trap, the only other trap I have in the sea, and put it here. That way they can both attack, and my second action will be to attack this nightmare. And when it's defeated, I can do nothing more, but that's okay. I already had my 2 actions. Now a new nightmare. 2 health, long range, to the left, and the second action will be to attack. This nightmare can reach and attack the lighthouse, and my lighthouse is now down to 4 health. And then the tide will shift, and the nightmare will go to the back of the sea. I think I'm in control at the moment, but I still have 4 nightmares in the sea and only 2 traps. So first action in my new round will be for those 2 trap cards to attack this nightmare. It has a health of 2, so I will need 2 trap cards to attack. But when it's defeated, the special ability will be to discard the trap right next to it, so I will also lose my trap. So I have 1 action left, and I think my action will be to place this trap. It has a long range of 4 to the left. But what's even better, the special ability is to get another attack this round, and I will attack this nightmare card. I will use my 2 traps here. And when that card is defeated, I would have suffered another nightmare attack if it was placed between 2 traps. That was not the case. Only 2 nightmares left in my deck, and this one will be placed. The special ability is that the nightmares will get +1 range, and that was unexpected. I expected to lose 1 health instead. I will lose 2 because the nightmare in the 3rd position got 1 range extra. That's bad. I'm down to 2 health. Then the tide will shift, the nightmare will go to the far right, and my new sea will look like this. With only 1 nightmare left in the deck, I have to consider all things at this moment. And I would like to play this card. It has a range of 1, so I'll put it here. It will attack 1 to the right, and the other card here will join in the attack. It will take 2 to defeat the nightmare. When defeated and within a range of 2 of the lighthouse, I would have suffered 2 damage, but it was 3 away. So luckily that didn't happen. Now the last nightmare will show up. And when placed, it will move 2 positions to the left immediately. So this is how the sea looks, and the nightmares will attack. And they cannot reach the lighthouse, which is good, but they can still defeat one of my traps. They will need a combined strength of 2 to defeat this trap, but that will happen. They can reach it, and when this card is defeated, I will gain an additional action next round. So I'll keep this card to remind me. Once again, we have the changing tide. My trap next to the lighthouse will be discarded. The gap will be closed, and I have, luckily not, 4 nightmares next to each other. Technically, I have now reached the win condition. I drew the last card, placed the last nightmare. There is still light in the lighthouse, so technically I would have won the game by now. But I like to finish the game completely. I still have nightmares in the sea, so I find it, well, logical to end the game completely. So let me see if I can do something to these nightmares. If they hit me with 2, the lights will go out. So what can I do? I have a trap card here. If I place this trap card, the tide will not change this turn. And that is a huge advantage. Otherwise, I would lose 1 trap to the tide. So that was my first action. And the second one, I have another trap card here that could be useful. If I place this one somewhere, I can move 1 nightmare to another position in the sea. And my challenge right now is to get rid of the nightmare cards with 3 health. I need 3 attacks on this card, for example. So if I must defeat that nightmare, I need traps in the right position. So I think I'll take this one. It only has a range of, well, no, wait. I could also take this. No, I'll take this with a range of 1 to each direction. I'll put it here. And then nothing else will happen this turn. None of the nightmares can defeat any of my traps, so nothing will happen. And the tide will not change this turn, so I'll just move to my next round. Oh, and then I forgot I had 3 actions this turn, so let me just real quick put this trap to the right. That will not affect anything. So that is the end of the round. I will now have my new round and only 1 trap in the hand. I'm back to my 2 normal actions, and the first one will be an attack. I guess I have the opportunity to attack one of the 3 health nightmare cards. Can use this one, and then I'll combine 3 hits and defeat the nightmare. And then close the gap, and we can see the entire sea again. I'll then make a second attack on this nightmare card, and that one will also be defeated and end up as a trap in my hand. So it's looking tough for the remaining nightmare now. It only has 1 range. It cannot defeat any of my traps. The tide will change this turn, so I'll lose 1 trap, but I will have my round again. And with the cards I already have in the sea, I can combine their attacks and defeat the final nightmare. Great. But keep in mind, I decided to play all the way to the end. Technically, you will win when you have drawn the last nightmare card and survived that round. That went really well, I guess. Sometimes this game is really hard, but one cool thing is that you can adjust the difficulty yourself. So it will take normally 5 to 10 minutes to play through this game. It's really one of my go-to games at the moment, and it fits in your pocket. But that's not all. There are already 2 expansions, the last Lighthouse Long Nights, that will give you additional nightmare and trap cards, and also additional rules that will make the game even harder. You will have 2 more nightmares to deal with. Here we have the rules and the description of the gameplay. And there is a second expansion, Strange Shores. And in this expansion, you will not get nightmares or traps. Instead, you will get 3 different lighthouses that you can play with. They all have different abilities that can increase or maybe decrease the difficulty of the game. It will give a lot of variation and add to the replayability of the last Lighthouse. The game is released by Button Shy Games, and you can find it as print and play. I'll put a link in the description. It's very reasonably priced, and you can even get a black and white copy free. Thanks a lot for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope you'll join me for future videos.